Our Gen Con coverage is brought to you by Hit Point Press. From animated spell and tarot cards to their breathtaking Humblewood campaign setting and adventure, Hit Point Press is your one-stop shop for amazing 5e content. Check out our links below for all the gaming goodness. We're at day one of Gen Con 2024, and our first stop, of course, has to be Hit Point Press. How's everything going so far?
So far, so great. I love Gen Con.
It's one of the biggest Gen Cons ever, it seems like. This morning, the rush must have been incredible.
I've never heard of Thursday selling out before. Like, I've heard of 4 days and Saturdays and Sundays, but this is the first show I've ever seen Thursday sell out before the show even started.
Yeah, we didn't even come in with the big stampede this morning, but we came in shortly after, and it was still shoulder to shoulder, like 70,000 people, 80,000 people.
It's got to be close, yeah.
What's everybody coming here asking about so far?
We've had a lot of really popular stuff. So, Humblewood Tales we're introducing for the first time at Gen Con, or at any show. Backers should be getting their books shortly, and so with those on fulfillment, we're able to carry here at the show. Some other cool stuff that we've had at the show for the first time at Gen Con. We've got Heckna, your insane clown carnival, punchline throwing insane clown, and then we've got Heliana's, where if you like Monster Hunter and you want to make cool stuff out of monsters you've hunted and stabbed. I don't want to say killed, but you know. And then Griffon Saddlebags, who we love partnering with. He'll be actually here doing a signing tomorrow morning. And then Hexbound with Pointy Hat Productions. And Dragon Stew, which we're carrying some of the remaining books from their Kickstarter as well.
I want to go back to Heckna for a second, because that's one of my favorite, I think maybe one of the best adventures that's come out in the last year. When we're looking at 5e adventures, you know, it's so robust. There's so much going on in there, and it's somewhat modular, so you can kind of make it your own adventure. What's been the response to Heckna so far? Because I think it's also up for some awards this week.
We are up for 2 awards for Best Adventure and Best Setting, so we're really excited that. We'll find out if we win on Friday. I'm crossing fingers. It is very, like, the people that love Heckna really love Heckna. You mentioned it's one of your favorites. Yeah. It is an amazing adventure. There's so much that's packed into that book. Like, if you compare it against Humblewood, it is noticeably thicker of a book, and it's all content. And so it's really popular. Unfortunately, there is like kind of like that niche of people who just don't like clowns. But I say, you know, it's like a lot of play therapy. If you're afraid of clowns, why not play the game where you get to defeat one, right?
Exposure therapy.
So unlike Humblewood, it's not as like kid friendly as but it's nice to see the juxtaposition. You know, like, we're not just the Humblewood company. We're also the Insane Clown Company and the Monster Hunter Company and the Magic Item Company. So, like, we just like making great content.
I'd call y'all the one-stop shop for 5e content. Let's talk about Humblewood for a second, because you also have Humblewood 2 in production coming along. You want to tell us a little bit about how that's going along?
So Humblewood 2 is currently going through our Patreon. So if people are interested, they can find links to that on our website, but we're taking everybody through the design journey of Humblewood. So, like, the new classes, but you get to work with us on that playtest. So we're submitting those to Patreon backers first, and then making those public, and we're going to listen to that feedback and have that incorporated as part of the book. So new player races, we've introduced the Capra and the Goat Folk, the Tilia, the Gecko Folk, the Arma, which are like armadillo pangolin kind of things. And then even new class options for like a new class called the Gadgeteer, which uses like either elemental construction or biological components to make interesting mechanics to assist them during the game.
What I love about Humblewood is because you look at it and it looks like a very sweet, very like family-friendly adventure, which it is, but it's also there's undertones of like class inequality, and there's all these other societal things at play in there, which makes it feel like a much more deep adventure than a lot of them. Even the original Humblewood book I'm talking about now. And it's also an adventure where you have a noticeable effect on the world, which I don't feel like is taken into consideration in a lot of other 5e adventures, like even official ones. You know, the way that your adventure is the way the world ends up in your adventure is going to be so different than somebody else. And is that a philosophy that y'all been taking along with the new Humblewood's adventures you're coming up with?
Yeah, so that's a design sensibility that we want to carry throughout everything that Humblewood does. Like, we want it to be player friendly, family friendly, but there's undercurrents and tones of story that you can emphasize as a GM. Or as a player, tell the GM that you want to go more into, like the societal, like structure stuff. Like that's one of my favorite things. You can downplay that up or play that up as much as you want to, depending on your player base or the age of the players that you're working with. But one of those, you're right. It's one of those, like, the end of the adventure is a huge event in Humblewood, and the idea is like those kind of events are going to carry over into the next books, and then. While we made a whole bunch of like supplemental little adventures, like we have our free RPG Day booklet that we did, where if you want to continue your story now, before Humblewood 2 is out, we want to give you those options, but we try to make the stories as rich and immersive in the world as possible. Like they're real things that are happening.
I love it so much. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Heliana, because that's the one we haven't talked about as much. Give us a little bit more about that, if you don't mind.
For sure. So Heliana's, we'll give it a nice little, like...
It's a big, chunky book.
It is a big book. So Heliana's is kind of like Monster Hunter, the video game, in book form. So it's all rules about tracking, hunting, and using the parts of a monster to make interesting items that do interesting things based on, like, if you took an aberration's eye or a magical beast's claw, and those items will do different things based on those components. And it's just chock full of content. The Lou Tavern team worked on that. They also, they're pretty well known for, like, the Ryoko's Guide that's coming out from Kickstarter. But we helped them out with the Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting, and so this is the first Gen Con where we're selling this at a show.
Is there adventure included as well in that chunky book?
There is. It's mostly just supplemental information. There are adventures that are available in addition, and they actually have a free RPG Day booklet that we're handing out here at the show as an adventure for people to play in Heliana's.
That's a lot of content then, just to expand the world and the things that you can. It makes fighting monsters feel less like a grind. I know sometimes I'm playing these games like the fights can just sometimes get in the way of your storytelling and your fun. It's like, here's a roadblock we have to get past. But this one, you get things come out of it that can generate more story and more development.
I always think of it like like the Native Americans used every part of something during a hunting, and like. You normally, as a player, like, I killed the dragon. You loot the horde, and then the body of a dragon is just sitting there. Yeah. Heliana's is all about what could you do with that dragon's body. Like, what armor can you make? What items can you make? Like shields, like scrying objects. What does a dragon's eye do? That's really cool. Like all these magical creatures, and they are magical creatures, and you're just kind of like leaving them there on the ground of the dungeon. But you could be doing really cool stuff with it. Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting.
I love it. Anything else you want to tell us about? I got my Seeds of Decay book just like a week or two ago. We're looking forward to taking a look at that. I see you've got that over there.
Yep, so we partnered with Splattered Ink Games, Seeds of Decay. This, again, the first show that we had that. It was kind of it was like a last minute, it was good, it was on the palette. So we're really excited to be partnering with Daryl Jones and the Splattered Ink Company on making that one. So that's, you have the book, which is great. I got my collector's, the deluxe box right before I left for here.
Same.
So that's set in the Forest of Always Green, and you're trying to figure out the malignant force that's moving through the forest. And there are some great, like, hot, customizable, like, anthropomorphic woodland creature races. And for me, it feels very like a Dark Crystal kind of setting. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's a really fun adventure and setting to play in.
I have it sitting next to my bathtub. I was going to go home from Gen Con and just put on some bubble bath and try very hard not to drop it in the water, but that's going to be a good place for me just to relax and look through that.
That's a great plan. Mine is currently just inside my room on my RPG Calyx, and so as soon as I get home, I'm going to dive into that.
I love it. Anything else you want to tell us about while we're here?
One of the partnerships we're really excited about, working with the Crimson Herald team. Johnny Stanton, he's like an NFL player, and his they wrote and are working on a Kickstarter called Sync. So we have a free RPG Day booklet that they published that we're giving out here at the show, and they're doing a lot of like live plays and demos of the show during Gen Con. But it's a pirate nautical themed where all of the art was done by like tattoo artists.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So it's if the people want to check it out, we're giving out the free RPG Day booklets to attendees. They can walk up and grab one, and if they want to dive more into it.
Well done.
Boom, boom. They have the ability to do that, and we're looking forward to that Kickstarter launching soon.
They have some of this on your website as well?
I believe the PDF for this is available on our website now, and I know there's some stores that still have some free RPG Day stuff left over if anyone wants to go to the local store to see if they still have some.
Sweet. Well, thanks for chatting with us today. I hope pace yourself. You know, one day at a time. It's a busy show. You excited? Anything else here at Gen Con that you're looking forward to when you get away from the booth that you want to check out?
I don't leave the booth.
No. Are you sending anybody out to get you anything while you're here?
Well, for me, I'm a big Sanderson fan, so I'm really interested in what's coming out from Brotherwise. And then my favorite artist, one of my favorite artists, Wayne Reynolds, is here over by the Paizo booth.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping to get over and say hi. Yep. And then I usually try to get at least some time to go over to Artist Alley and say hi to all my artist friends. Again, I never really introduced myself. I do art direction for Hit Point on top of events. So art's kind of my thing. So I love hanging out in Artist Alley. That's usually, if you ever found me in Gen Con, my friends would be like, let's go demo games. It's like, I'm going to go talk to artists. But no, it's just always a great show.
We'll have to touch base later in the year when Stormlight, the next book, comes out. November, I think it is?
So I was really looking forward to going to Dragonsteel. When they're launching the book, it's the same week of PAX Unplugged.
Oh, no.
So it's the first weekend of December.
December.
December 2nd, I think. So I will be at PAX Unplugged when that book's launch. And I've already pre-ordered my copy. And I look forward to, I can't wait for that book.
Me too.
End of the Stormlight era.
Tell us a little bit about Scroungecraft. It's on Kickstarter now, right?
So we do have a puzzle Kickstarter that's ongoing right now. We're introducing 5 new puzzles using some art from some of the best Magic artists in the field right now. I think we have 17 days left in the Kickstarter. It's a continuation of our first Scroungecraft Kickstarter, which same thing, used a lot of art from Magic the Gathering artists. And the nice thing is that those are, the files are already ready. We're good to go in production. Fulfillment should be really fast. We're really excited to get we had a lot of good reactions to our first puzzles, but we learned some lessons from there, like don't make an all green puzzle. But we love giving people a challenge, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I'll let you get back to it. I think a lot of people lining up. But thanks for chatting with us, and we wish you good luck at your con.
Appreciate it, Theo. It's always a pleasure to chat.
Stay tuned here at the Gallant Goblin for the latest from Gen Con 2024. For now, stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I will see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.